I don't think the pandemic is going anywhere. So would I invest in the hardest hit stocks by the pandemic? No, that wouldn't be my strategy. Hey, Frank.
How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm pretty good today.
Yeah, I would say so. I
think I'm okay.
Everybody quoting Frank saying, everyone's been quoting you all week saying, Frank did say to put on your seatbelt. Remember that quote?
Yeah, unless you want to fall out of a rocket. Yeah, I mean, you know.
Well, let's just talk about this news.
It's been a fun day.
So proud of you guys and unbelievable what you guys are doing. Let's read the headline here. Universal PropTech Inc. invests in and secures defined agency rights for ISBRG Corp's SPOTLIGHT-19 technology designed to detect COVID-19 non-invasively in under 1 minute. Wow. I've never heard of anything like it. I've heard of 15-minute test results. You know, I've heard of 5-minute, 10-minute, never heard of 1 minute. That's big.
You know, Rich, that's what really excited us was the ability to open the economy, to get people into buildings, right? We're not talking about, you know, oh, I got to catch a flight. Maybe I can do a 15-minute test before. No, we're talking about getting schools, any facility, restaurants, arenas open. This is it. And that's obviously what attracted us to the opportunity.
It's absolutely incredible. It's
under a minute, but under 1 minute.
Under a minute. So can you explain exactly how it works?
It's under a minute.
It's fingertip with a light, and they test it within a minute.
You know, so I'll give you an example, right? So I'm going to leave Iceberg is how they pronounce it. Let Iceberg in a few days or so really sort of come out of their shell and really explain who and what and who they're with. And you know, we're really excited because obviously being publicly traded, we have disclosure and we have to ultimately come out. But it's quite exciting. So we're really looking forward to that. But I'll give you an example, right, of what's possible and how it works, right? If you have a new Apple Watch, the light's very different. But if you have a new Apple Watch is now able to see your oxygen level within your blood. So the point being, and that's a very simplistic element of it, but the point being that using a particular beam of light to understand what is in your bloodstream, and then to use, as states in the press release, artificial intelligence to ultimately detect, is it this, is it that? Are you negative? Are you positive? It's tremendous. I mean, do you know that 70% of all global, of all visits to a doctor globally, right? So 70% of them result in a blood test. Think about that, right? So you go see a doctor and they say, okay, go do a blood test. We'll figure out what's wrong with you. So just imagine the possibilities of what you're able to do now in under a minute for really anything. I mean, COVID's obviously the issue of the day. And again, for us, COVID is pretty important because here we are coming out with our plan of you're not getting in a facility if you've got COVID. And when you're inside of it, we're cleaning the air, cleaning the surfaces, and then validating it. This is a pretty good package.
Game changer. It's an absolute game changer. We've got investors in our community that are super excited about UPI, super excited about what you guys are doing. When the news came out today, we were spreading it around in our community and everyone was celebrating. Everyone's celebrating. And obviously the stock was halted yesterday. So a lot of people were like, you know, what's going on? Why are they halted? And I was trying to explain to people, I'm like, well, can you explain why you guys halted the stock?
Well, I mean, there's a, you know, as paperwork and things are moving, there's a time frame difference of when we know we're closing a deal of when it actually physically closes, which it closed this morning. You know, there's just too much risk of people who know this, it getting out, and we didn't think we'd be ready right at opening, which we weren't. So we wanted to make sure we protected, obviously, all the shareholders and make sure and all the investors that they get the proper information together and they can do what they want to do. And look what happened at 12:15. I think over 700,000 shares, 775,000 to be exact, traded within that first minute. So that's how it works, right? You halt because we do have pertinent information, and as it came out, people acted on it. So yeah, we're pleased with that.
It's absolutely crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I have so many questions coming from members.
Please, Rich, go away. Ask the questions. I'm really excited. I want to answer what I can answer today. So
let's go through some of your guys' questions. And if you guys have questions, please put them in the chat now. I know a lot of you guys are wondering, is it too late to get in? You know, and I know that Frank is going to say that this is just the first inning, right? Like this is not done. You ain't done.
Yeah.
Right, Frank?
Yeah.
You're just getting started
we're,
here, right?
We're not done. We're just getting
UPI
started.
is not done, guys. So first question, does UPI intend to offer financial services to potential landlords? Good question.
So outside of COVID and other stuff, I would say, I mean, it's not something we're going to do in the next 2 weeks, but absolutely, when you look at what I've discussed as the business model of, we've got our air quality, COVID-related equipment, our building performance, mechanical controls, and our energy resources, absolutely, at some point, and it's hard to say when, but at some point in that mix, it would be prudent for us to be part of this growing global demand for alternate asset class and to be able to offer financing, either whether we own the assets or whether we finance the assets. Absolutely needs to be part of it. And it's just really a question as to when in our timing of our growth of that plays out. Certainly there are conversations we've had, but I obviously we can't say one definitive day that's something that's going to happen, but 100% that's something that at some point will happen.
That's very exciting.
We'd be missing a huge opportunity if we didn't do it.
Absolutely, because not everybody's going to be able to do it. So if they can do some type of monthly financing, that will be something that will be able to open up the doors.
From a customer perspective, yes, but even more so, I mean, I've done some significant utility transactions in the marketplace and other energy services companies. And I can tell you the market and businesses really appreciate that alternate asset class, right? That long-term coupon clipping attached to an asset. And obviously, credit worthiness is critical. But what that does when we start getting to the point where we're beyond speculators and we're beyond people thinking, where's this going to end up? But we're now a humming machine of revenue and earnings. The publicly traded companies in the utility space or similar, they were selling at over 20 times earnings because of that alternate asset class space. So, if you sort of look at where you need to go, I think it'd be prudent to look at how you build in that value with multiples on that alternate asset class. So
I have a question from Amber. This is directly to you, Frank. How does growth look like for UPI in 2021?
So our fiscal year end is the end of August. This being a good example of, I think we're looking at a few months, give or take some period for this to start rolling out. So from a revenue perspective, I just for obvious reasons, I don't think this will naturally roll out and close out in this fiscal year. But from everything else we're working on, it's, there's things that we're pulling in from a revenue perspective and it will have its impact. And I'm quite excited. And when Chris, our CEO, is ready to start doing more projections and giving some targets, we'll do that. From an iceberg perspective and SPOTLIGHT-19, for the end of the calendar year, I think will be a tremendous impact. It's just, we need to wait for the final approvals on it and we'll go to town on it. But there's no delay on our part. We'll go as soon as we can go. In fact, we're already getting messages of people saying, can I get one when it's ready? So we're pretty excited.
Yeah, I saw that in the press release. You actually have a link for people to order that order form. I thought that was brilliant.
I mean, it's smart on our part. We're the sales agent, certainly for a pretty big chunk of the Canadian landscape. And it'd be smart for us to be able to attract people who are expressing an interest, don't know where to go, what to do to say we're interested. And we wanted to make sure we did that. And I think it's worked well so far. And second to that, we're not going to wait until here's the final, say, Health Canada approval before we start generating sales leads. Are you kidding? We'll be doing that fairly quickly and lock down organizations who express an interest, pending approval. So we're definitely on it.
That's fantastic. I have a question from
But again, I mean, part of that question, I didn't jump back into this business to stay a $10 million a year business. So just saying.
Yeah. And, $10 million is good too. It's good business. But that's the start of UPI. This is a company that was doing 10 million a year when they went public. And now with these acquisitions and all the new business that is being generated, I think that we're going to be looking more like in the future, maybe, and I don't want to speak for you, but maybe $100 million company. So that would be 10 times growth revenue.
I said it last time. I don't know why you aim so low, but sure.
I'm being conservative. So
Yes, you are. Yes, you
right,
are.
we're being conservative, but I like to do it in stages, right? First we go for 100 million, then we go to a billion, right?
Yep, 100%.
I have a question from
What else you got?
Nathan. Yes, I have a question
Yeah.
from Nathan Cook. And just do your best to answer some of these questions because I know
Sure,
everybody
of
wants
course.
all the answers.
Yeah.
But just do your best and don't put yourself in any trouble. What is the big catalyst you expect to hear from UPI, and where do you see the stock price heading?
I mean, the big catalyst. We're putting in all the pieces to a puzzle that we know we could sell, that the market wants and the market needs, and we're putting them all together. So, I've seen a lot of companies that can have great solutions, but unless the marketplace is ready to buy it, unless a customer is saying, I need that today, you can just be waiting for years until there's churn, renewal, and people buy it from you. So with everything we have, and I think Iceberg fits in beautifully, where Spotlight-19 would be a natural catalyst of driving, again, we're in Eastern Canada, Ontario to the East Coast. Overnight, Spotlight-19 allows us to have access aggressively to across the country, all the government facilities, all the education facilities. And we would, it's in our best interest to then do a pull through of everything else we can pull through on the back of that. So obviously COVID related things are critical catalysts. I mean, it's been here for a while that we're all dealing with. We have a great bunch of solutions and services to get in the door with at the moment. I think we'll do a great job shortly to prove that out. And then Spotlight-19 is ultimately just gonna, just let it take off from a regional geographical perspective. But we have those catalysts and we're not done. We're not stopping. Why would we? So our plan is to continue to bring them in and then spit them out and generate the revenue and the growth. So we're well on our way.
I have a question from, oh, wow, they're coming in quickly. Sanyok 30 says, does the COVID-19 detection tech require Health Canada approval?
Yeah, so part of what we're actually funding, right? So we'll wait for Iceberg to come out with their announcements and their details. But part of this, and we refer to it in the press release, is to help, if you would, calibrate the sensitivity of it. And then there is absolutely a Health Canada application, unless something goes awfully wrong, which why would it? At this point, we've done our homework. At some point in the coming months, there would be an opportunity to have that approval. So Iceberg will come up with those details in days or so. Absolutely, that's the intent behind it. And it will be not by minutes or 30 seconds. It would be by multiples better than from a timing and efficiency perspective and a cost perspective of what's out there in the marketplace. So we're pretty excited.
Wow, that's incredible.
I mean, what do you have that's, yeah, so what do you have that's under minute, right?
Like there's all these companies coming out with all this stuff and out of nowhere, you guys
Rich,
come up with something better than everybody else.
Thing. It's, I think COVID generates some interesting opportunities for people to really sort of pivot. And obviously, I think COVID wasn't clearly the first one up. And I think Iceberg's done a great job to take the lead on, hey, this is COVID, let's pivot a bit. So we're really excited, even beyond COVID, of what these guys are going to be able to do and are doing. So, and if you really understand artificial intelligence, you'll get, my God, where does this end? What can you do? And so that part is also exciting. And I'll even say, look, we're universal PropTech, right? What we've done here is, this is like the quintessential, like it's a poster child type of investment you want to have when you're talking about PropTech, because it's about access to a facility and limiting it and managing who gets access to a facility. If there are carriers of COVID and they don't even know it, we're going to capture that. So from that perspective, using AI, machine learning in a facility with everything else we're doing with facilities, it's like the ideal investment opportunity we could have found that really encapsulates everything we're trying to do with facilities. We're really excited. And here we are creating a healthy building environment. So it's perfect for what we were trying to achieve.
Fantastic. Roy asks, what's the market cap you are targeting in 2 years, both optimistic and pessimistic?
I can't, there's so many moving parts to what we're building right now. If I had a $100 million mature business that had a great growth plan and we just took it over, that's one thing. I might be able to say the type of growth trajectory. It's a starter kit. We started with $10 million a year. We're adding on things that they haven't done in decades. We're adding on an actual sales force, which they haven't done in decades. and that's effectively what we're doing. So it's, you know, really hard to say where it's going to stop. There's no shortage of technologies we're looking at. There's no shortage of acquisition targets we're looking at. So I think it's really hard to say where we're going to be. But again, everything we're touching is to be improved margins, tremendous growth in revenues and earnings. So, you know, when the dust settles, we'll probably turn more into caretakers and we can walk through what we've achieved. We're not even close to understanding where the edge of our universe is going right now. Yeah, it's way too early to talk about that. But from where we're going to go from a stock perspective, I still think we're, in my humble opinion, that we're undervalued for what it is we're doing. We're getting there. People are appreciating it. Obviously today, the churn of our stock is a good sign of people paying attention and buying into it. But we've just started. We're a quarter in to what we were trying to achieve here. So I think we've got a great amount of space to really prove to people what we're able to do. And as long as people keep watching and paying attention, I think they'll be excited with our story.
Questions are coming in fast and furious now. Thank you guys, and keep bringing them. Do you have, this is from Phil Can. Thank you, Phil, for the question. Do you have a method of killing the virus, example, UV light?
Yes. So we have two product lines that use germicidal UV light. Air Sniper is a Canadian manufacturer out of Edmonton, so we're really excited. We are the exclusive distributor, master distributor of their products from Ontario to the East Coast. And then we have Fresh Air UV, which another UV, germicidal UV product line. So we have two different ones we can use, and they have both in duct or in room solutions. So yeah, we're really excited about the UV solutions we have right now.
Great. From Raheel Gilani, what are the company's objectives for the next 2 to 4 weeks?
Oh, Raheel, you're really on us. You know, what are the objectives? Well, we're not going to rest. So that's one, is don't rest. No, so there's a lot of work. Today was a great day to make this announcement because obviously we had to once we signed the deal, but we're not stopping. So there's a lot to do on this alone. There's a lot to do on the things we've already brought in. So there's a lot of effort on putting together our brochures, our approaches to existing clients and new prospects with our COVID air quality package that we've been putting together. And this, of course, becomes a part of that from our messaging perspective. So that's going to be rolling out shortly. So we're busy on that. We're busy doing walkthroughs and bringing in new prospects already. And we've got, again, we're not stopping with this. We have a whole bunch of other solutions and services that we're looking at as other investment targets or strategic licenses. So again, it's going to be busy. We're not slowing down here.
You weren't joking when you said get your seatbelt on. I mean, I don't even think a lot of the investors that have seen the growth expected it to be this quick. It was almost overnight. I mean, it seems like just yesterday you were on our show, the stock was under 30 cents, and we're like, oh, you know, it's probably a good buying opportunity. We were talking about an overhang. You're like, there's a little bit of an overhang. You know, eventually they'll sell, and now the stock's at 70 cents. It's like seems like a year ago, but it was like a week ago. And there's been so much, the stock's doubled in price, more than doubled in price.
You know,
you've doubled your market cap. You've got new products.
Part of the challenge, you're right,
incredible.
But part of the challenge is people want to put us in a certain bucket. And just because our starter kit happens to be a building controls and a mechanical services company doesn't mean that we're living within those lanes. And we absolutely are expanding the width and, you know, every component of it, our expertise, our skill sets, our ability to go higher value premium in what we're offering. If you're going to walk into a customer tomorrow, say a hotel chain, and you walk in tomorrow and had a conversation, you do not want to be walking in and saying, oh, by the way, I just want to look at your control systems. That's all I'm interested in. We're having conversations about what keeps you up at night? How do we increase value in your buildings, in your assets? I mean, if we go to apartment REITs tomorrow, as an example, for every $1 million we can save them in energy efficiency costs and reduction, or even generate a new revenues for them because we can build energy systems, let's say, for every $1 million we save them, it's worth $25 million in enterprise value because of their cap rates right now. So it's really having a good understanding of what the value is we provide. We're not thinking and acting like, say, a typical mechanical in controls business, that's what they did for 40 years. We're acting like people who are building a full service, one-stop shop energy management company. We're building healthy buildings and everything that comes with it. So it's hard for people to look at us and understand, where do they stop? Good. I don't want people to think they can understand us. So we're going to continue to build value and growth and just hang on.
I'm loving what you guys are doing. It's really exciting. And I can tell with the amount of questions that there's a lot of excited investors here.
Good. I'll be quicker. I want to hear more questions. This would be
No,
great.
it's okay. You don't have to be quick. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's great.
Good.
Raheel says, another question from Raheel. What is the strategy to combine all the pieces such as COVID, air sniper, and plus today's news?
So, I mean, that's it. It's to combine them all. I mean, with ISBRG and SPOTLIGHT-19, it obviously is going to take a bit longer, but it's still conversations we can have with customers, right? About what we intend to do in the coming months. So the package is simple, right? Right now, what you're seeing out there is the Wild West. I said this before, and in the Wild West, everyone are pitching what they think is the best, UV product, the best ionization product. They're just pitching a particular product, and it's they're trying to say it's one size fits all. Oh, you school board, you need this one product. Really? That's not how these things work. You don't walk into every single facility and say, I have the perfect solution for you. You don't understand their situation. So being in this business for 40 years, we have a good understanding of every school, every building, every facility is quite unique. And where they are it might be that their HVAC system is so old that even if you wanted to run through a better air quality, their ventilation system can't take it. It's already decrepit and it should be replaced now. So every situation has its own unique dynamics of their system can't take it. We're going to have to do in-room, and this is how we configure it. And then depending on the size of the rooms, depending on what is being designed to accommodate it, we then figure out in our bag of tricks of which products make the most sense for that. So we cannot walk into every situation and say, oh, we know exactly what you need before you knew it, or before we even walked into the place. We cannot do that. And so having these pieces of air sniper, fresh air, UV, Atmos air is critical. And then adding in the piece of, oh, by the way, we're so confident in what we're designing for you as a package that we will, as part of it, we will wipe down any room that has a COVID positive person. Within hours, we'll be called in, we'll do a truck roll, we will wipe down every room, swab it with our test kit, and be able to identify in less than 2 hours if COVID is present on any surface of that individual's been near. That's great validation, great ability for us to say, our system's working, and we've given comfort to people who use that space that there's nothing left of COVID in that space. And then, you couple that in again with, and that's a service, you couple that in with SPOTLIGHT-19, you're giving peace of mind. I mean, if you run a facility, you really want to be worrying about these things every single day. We're talking about creating a peace of mind, a very customer-centric approach. We're the trusted advisor, and we're always going to do what makes sense for you and your facilities, and the story. And you shouldn't be thinking, oh shit, what are they going to sell me today? What product don't I need they're going to sell me? That's not us, and that's not the way we're going to market. So Raheel, it's a great question. We have all these products make sense. And if someone wants us in the door on one product and one solution set, we still have everything else we can pull through that we hope to do with them before we're done. So we think we've got a good approach. Come on, Rich, what do you got?
From Tyrell, to my understanding, this technology was used previously in attempt to detect THC. Since there is an existing architecture, does this mean it just needs to be repurposed for COVID-19?
So attempted is an interesting word. So definitely they can detect various state of health within your blood. They can absolutely detect that. So if you understand AI, it's really just a question of, so anyone who's looked at machine learning, how do you tell it what to do going forward? So how machine learning works is it looks at what you're currently doing today. So here we are using a PCR test. It says it in here. We take the best thing that people are using today as a PCR test, which could take several hours to days to get the results back in, right? And we say, let's teach it to understand machine learning, that when you do a PCR test and we run a concurrent assessment of our tool, we're able to start identifying, oh, you're positive. We tell our solution for that snapshot of your bloods, it's positive. And as we measure enough of them over a period of time, and we feed it enough information, it's able to understand, I think I can now tell who is positive and who isn't, and of any virus, of anything you program it for. So if I wanted to find out if you have the flu, and now it's flu season, and I'm making sure people don't go into seniors' homes or certain places with the flu because they probably don't know they have it, then I just have to run my algorithms and run my assessment for all those different viruses and all those different, all those situations that could appear in your blood. If I run enough analysis of them, I teach my machine learning how to identify it in several seconds. That's AI. That's how it works. And so it's going to radically change. I mean, you said game changer earlier. It's going to radically change how you start assessing state of health of people. And I'll let Iceberg do its thing when they come out and talk about what they're up to. And we're just excited that beyond COVID, we've got an opportunity to continue to market and sell services beyond just COVID. So we're looking at the longevity of this as well.
This is a question from Phil Can regarding the UV light method of killing the virus. Is there sales in the pipeline, or does it need Health Canada approval first?
No, so from the UV perspective, all of our products that we're currently selling and have the rights to are all approved in Canada. So right now where we're at, and there are conversations happening with customers and scoping out opportunities, and we have staff who are doing that, it's really, we've got all these different tools in our toolkit. It's really making sure how best to position it to go to market and then scale it. So it's a bit of you're testing it, your focus group testing it. Do we have the right package? How do we price it? What terms we want to attach to this? And we go out. And I think I said on your show last week, we'll be out shortly with an executed plan to scale this. But all of our products have approval other than SPOTLIGHT-19, which we'll go through it shortly. All the other products have approval.
Question from Andrea. What about using portable UV lights to sanitize rooms and areas, or does that exist already?
Yeah, so these solutions do exist. There are portable units. There are different ways you can do it. There's systems, some that we're not using, but there's systems where you can literally put in a room, get people out of it, turn it on remotely, and it will clear the room. The challenges with that are, so it's a different nanometer level of the UV range. And the problem is additional ranges of that aren't for human consumption, if you would. So that's why some people, I've talked to one seniors home operator who, after someone has had COVID and they clear that room, they literally will put in a device, close the door, remotely turn it on for say an hour or so. I can't remember the exact timing. And it will, wherever the light can catch in that room, the UV light would kill any pathogens, viruses present. Again, okay, are you making sure that no one is entering the room? Are you making sure there's no cats around? There's a lot of complexity. And so every time we walk into a situation, we think of what devices make sense and what design and what protocol for this facility. And that's what we execute. You can't just buy stuff off the shelf and say, I'll make this fit. Not going to happen.
There was a question actually from one of our members, and it was a really good one. So you guys are going to sanitize and clean these rooms and make sure that there's no COVID. How do you do that? Like, are you going to have, I think you mentioned it, like a truck filled with guys in hazmat suits ready to call to go into, so, like, how do you do that? Like, how does that
so
look?
There's a few things. So, right. So there's two different things. So from an air quality perspective, if you're so UV is going to work from, in many respects, a lot of UV solutions have other, there's one competitor who has a hydrogen peroxide sort of leave behind, right? Which I'm not exactly a fan of, because hydrogen peroxide, when you apply it onto a surface, it bubbles after a few seconds. At some point you wipe it down. Yeah, that's not for human consumption. So the idea is really, depending on the facility and what you're looking at, we want to use the air quality we're putting out, whether it's ionization. So ionization has the ability to attach itself, these ions, to particles, to VOCs, to pathogens in the air as the air is traveling, and effectively clean the air. And if you clean that, then it means, well, none of that can land on a surface, right? So there's ways you approach this. Each situation is a little different. It doesn't take away that every place is probably going to have its own cleaning disinfection protocol beyond, there's janitors and people who have cleaning protocols. That combination is probably going to be what ends up working for most organizations, certainly most governmental organizations. You won't not clean a room with proper chemicals and materials. It's just, you don't want the air to be the reason why you're contaminating the room. And so we're focusing on cleaning the air. And there are some solutions like deionization that allows you to actually destroy, it's technically the way it works, but you destroy the pathogens in the air so that nothing's landing on anything that someone can get sick from. UV works differently in that as the air is passing through the UV rays, that's where the vast majority of the effort is to kill anything that's in that air. So if you're doing it there, so think of it as, we can make sure the room has clean air, but if someone gets in the room who's COVID positive and they're now spreading it with their droplets, that's something you then have to worry about. So what you do to the air and what your cleaning protocol has to be part of the mix when you determine these things. So we're not, hey, we're in the technology business. We're not part of, cleaners running around and wiping. We're certainly helped there to validate and have crews that will go around and do surface testing to verify that COVID's present or not. And that's something that we have now with Lumen Ultra. But from a cleaning process perspective, not interested in getting in the cleaning product business. There are protocols that exist. We can help validate if they're working or not, and we can help validate if the air system is contributing or if it's assisting in destroying COVID. So there's just places we play in it.
You have more time for a few more questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. So this is from Sanyok 30. You have a very impressive advisory board. Can you talk briefly about the individuals and what they bring to the table, specifically with rolling out new tech?
Yeah, so that's a great point, great question, and we appreciate that. So the advisory board is intended to grow as we move along and bring in additional technology sets, additional targets and approaches. We'll make sure that advisory board continues to sort of support our growth in those areas, right? Because again, we're taking a footprint of a mechanical controls business and we're adding on layers that it itself doesn't have certain skill sets in. So we're making sure we offset that. So Adam Suarez, previous board member who's now turned to be an advisor, he's a lawyer at Fogler's. Fogler does a great job on our legal work. He's the chairman of Foundation Markets, or one of the founders of Foundation Markets. So, he brings a lot of great expertise as we're looking at deals and transactions. So we wanted that, we're looking at new things that haven't been done before, i.e. Spotlight. And so we want to make sure we have the right eyes on, we know our appetite, we know what we're interested in, but we always want to make sure we're de-risking it and having the right people at the table assisting us. So Adam Suarez is amazing for that. And Bob Daniels is someone I've known for a long time. They've developed, other than the family being tremendous developers of all kinds of residential multi-res and multi-use projects over the decades. Bob's built the largest wind farm in the province and supported him with that. So they're very active, the family is, and he's very active in everything from obviously commercial development and commercial buildings. And he's developed himself personally multi-res and single-family homes over the decades. But in addition to, as an investor and as someone who's invested in a whole bunch of small cap and clean tech, he's invested in businesses like the aggregation of carbon credits, which is going to be relevant going forward. It's smart to have smart people like him around who can help add value to some of the deals we're looking at, and then and new people we're looking at as well. There's a lot of value they'll add to help offset many perceived weaknesses, certainly internally, externally, to help make sure that we're looking at everything we need to be looking at. And absolutely, we have intentions of expanding the advisory board where we can, and are actively looking at that. So it's going to continue to get stronger, better, more diverse, and we're working on all that.
From Sean Mack, do you have any kind of estimates on price points for commercial sale of these products as individuals or package?
Yeah. See, part of the challenge is we're talking about larger venues, right? So you're talking about, if you're looking at that airports, border crossings, you're looking at larger applications of it. It's challenging, right? So the part of it is, I won't steal Iceberg's thunder on this. Iceberg and thunder, pardon the pun there, it's kind of funny. But I mean, I won't steal their thunder on it. But part of the challenge becomes if you're dealing with an organization that is charging a ticket, charging a price for people to pass through a door, then it's far easier. Like, if you've been to Vegas, it's far easier to say, oh, there's an infrastructure tax, right? This is what we're going to attach to your cost. And so it's easier in those situations to apply it to maybe a user fee, far more in a user fee, in addition to, say, a licensing fee, an annual licensing fee. So every application would be a little different. I don't think the intention would be, gee, we're going to have that school and Johnny, who's going to go through that door every day at the same time. Does it make sense that we're going to charge Johnny a per user fee or to the school board? Might not be the application. So we have that leeway, that elasticity to understand what, their ability to pay and how that works. And then the other question to ask you back would be, if I can go get a school board tomorrow and get 500 schools that want to install multiple units per school, that's a little different. Right now, you're talking about bulk orders, longer term arrangements. Should there be an advantage for finding something like that than someone who maybe has a restaurant who wants one unit at the door? So, I'm not going to, get ahead of iceberg, but clearly there's a lot to understand of how we go to market with something that no one's done before. But absolutely, our intention is to scale hard, scale fast, get as many organizations on board. And for the verticals we have, we're talking about tremendous amount of scalability in it. We're not talking about a lot of one-offs here. So price points will be related to that.
Great. Okay, let's see here. This is from LA. There are a lot of talk about exclusive sales out east. Does UPI have penetration in Western Canada?
So, I mean, in all of our product lines, the exclusivity we have is for Eastern Canada. For when we have exclusivity, nothing of any of our licensing agreements preclude us from doing sales out west. And certainly from a growth perspective, nothing to make people aware of today. Certainly there's an objective to, as we continue to build our base of what it is we have, to look at growth plans, geographic. So, there could be opportunities where we can scale that in certain ways, but to just state the obvious, SPOTLIGHT-19 is a great opportunity to walk into facilities well beyond Eastern Canada, and that's all of Western Canada as well. So maybe just to add a bit of color as well. So yes, we are a mechanical and a controls business to start, and yes, we're expanding these areas. I've been in this industry for over 20 years, and for a good chunk of that, I generated deals with government across the country for a whole gambit of energy, utilities, you name it. So my ability to walk into mayor's offices or, former premiers, there's a great ability to walk in across the country with the skill sets we have than just what comes out of our VCI controls business today. So I'm really looking forward to using those contacts well to generate those deals and really pull through all the work we can pull through.
I can't even imagine what's going to happen here. It's so exciting to think about the potential and the fact that you guys are just getting started. One of my clients, this is from BK, one of my clients has a gadget attached to his furnace, and I think he mentioned the words UV when explaining it to me, and he specifically has to disinfect the air circulating in his home for COVID. This is a great idea.
That's how typically UVs work.
Yeah, and then he finishes saying, this is a great idea for huge buildings of any sort. Time to deploy some capital if this pulls back a little. So he's saying that he's thinking about buying the stock if it does a little bit of a pullback.
Yeah, look, I'll say this. I mean, there are technologies out there. I think early on when I started again a few months ago, we were really looking at, are there key technologies we can acquire or things we can do right away? And I think, we really sort of resolved ourselves in the fact of speed is everything, right? We can't just take our time and maybe build something new. There's enough technology out there. And one thing we concluded is that it's better and smarter to be the trusted advisor to a building owner than to sell the one product. Okay. So, all these products, UV ionization, everything that we're obviously going to go to them with, we brought in what we can. We brought in what makes sense to give us a good package to be able to provide it. But, to state the other obvious too is air quality was always it was the bottom of the barrel when it came to, if you owned a building, commercial or even a multi-res, say you're a apartment building owner, Air quality is not something that would have been at the top of your list. You don't want it to be a problem where people don't want to come in. There's odors or too much negative air pressure and things causing issues. What COVID did, and I think it's not going away, is COVID absolutely changed the prioritization of some of the expenditures going forward. So if you wonder why we're putting a lot of our effort to date into the COVID air quality space, it's for that obvious reason. Money is being spent, whether it's governmental money, organizations. If you own a building and you want your tenants to come back and their leases are coming due, they absolutely will start looking at, okay, that building over there they have ionization, they have clean air, they have a system that turns on additional filters when these conditions exist. Air quality will be another major determinant of where you choose to set up shop, if you're going to be setting up shop anywhere outside of your home again. But these are things that are going to come into play, and air quality and those types of systems will be critical. So that's not stopping. That's not going away anytime soon. And, even when you do boilers or chiller retrofits, you have to wait for for their units to come due and to need renewal. But right now, no one's waiting for anything to come due. They're making expenditures on how the hell they clean their air. So that's going to continue to happen.
I have a question from Carol. Any government funding applied for or coming down the pipeline?
For what particularly are you referring to?
Just for all the different projects you guys have. I'm sure there's going to be some government subsidies coming your way.
You know what? I think we're absolutely sure. I mean, so if we're not inventing it. So generally there's a lot of subsidies, a lot of opportunities. If you're the inventor of a technology and you're looking at various credits, shred credits, things like that for that, absolutely. I mean, our business has always had a number of shred credits for the R&D we've put into our own technology within VCI controls. So we've always had some element of R&D. And as we apply for projects, it's kind of interesting. If you apply for a school board or you're going after a project with another building, absolutely in the equation, there are incentive dollars we're always making applications for, whether it's driven by the client themselves or driven by us. So 100% that has to be part of it. There's enough incentives out there to drive a lot of the sales we're looking to do. But it's not the only determinant. We don't want to be stuck in a business that's reliant on those types of incentives to make it work. That's not something you want to grow a business on the back of. So we're aware of that. And then, when we get into things like alternate asset class, as you asked earlier, and when you get into, are there ways of having revenue sources on owning assets or financing assets and things like that? There's the other obvious is too, flow-through credits, right? The CRC credits from the federal government. If it's out there, we're looking at it and we're making sure we apply it. We need to make sure we're giving the best value possible to the end customer, whether that means, hey, we get to have quicker write-downs or more incentives or even renounced credits. It just means that their payback is quicker or all of us make more money and save more money. And that's the net, to the benefit of the customer. So we're pretty excited about that.
One more question, because I know it's getting pretty late. We've been live for about 45 minutes now, and we want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to see this video. I'm going to ask it like this, because I've already asked this.
Go for it. Yeah.
They want the US and they want the US listing and a Frankfurt listing. Any updates on either?
Yeah, I mean, it's hey, we've heard people, right? We're doing what we need to do, and I think at the appropriate time to announce it, Chris, our CEO, will announce what he needs to announce. But we've definitely heard people. We've just made an investment today into a global solution. So not lost on me that at this point, there's certainly ISBRG is out there, but at this point they're not publicly traded. We are. So I think it's just prudent for us to look at things beyond our borders, and whenever it's the appropriate time, we will let people know.
And I promise you guys, for those of you guys that are watching, you will be the first ones to know. I promise you that, because Frank is always coming on our show and breaking all the news first for us. So thank you so much once again, Frank. Congratulations on all your success so far. I know this is just the beginning, and I think most of our guys got their seatbelts locked in.
Yeah, now you got to close the window, because if you don't close it, you'll lose the oxygen soon as we get higher. So
All right, guys.
like, it's exciting. I appreciate obviously being on your show. So thank you very much. We're having
Hey,
a lot of
always
fun.
a pleasure, Frank. Love to have you on the show. Congratulations on all your success. Thank you guys for watching. If you're not winning, you're not watching. Remember, Rich TV Live is strictly for education and entertainment purposes. Always do your due diligence. Always do your research before you invest in anything that we talk about on Rich TV Live. Consult a financial advisor. Chances are, if you talk to your financial advisor, they're going to say, UPI looks good. I know that's what I said when I saw it the first time. And I'm pretty sure that's what our entire community said when they saw it under 30 cents. And today we've seen this rocket run well over 70 cents. I don't know what it finished at, like 67 or something, 66, 67. Either way, that's well over 100% since we started first talking. And I would love to invite you back, Frank, anytime you'd like to do either question and answers, just answer questions like this, talk about big breaking news. Always a pleasure. And I'm always learning more about universal prop tech and about this industry and about your technology every time you come on the show. So thank you so much for literally being an open book for myself and the entire community.
Oh, anytime. Thank you very much. And honestly, onwards and upwards. Let's keep talking.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day, everybody. UPI, put it on your watch list, put it on your radar. Guys, if you like this video, smash the like button, comment down below, share the video everywhere, and subscribe. Have a nice day, everybody. Thanks, Frank. We'll see you later.